and I appreciate everyone that's actually attended this session today to actually go through the mobile device management and how it's essential for a modern workforce. I'm going to touch on some of the actual key elements that mobile device management can actually bring to the table for your organization and for your users. And I want to start off by going through the actual presentation and how MDM actually integrates with a hyper-connected world, and it's now a thing of the future. At the moment, we all live in a world where it is, sorry, let me just admit this person in. We all live in a world now where we all rely on our mobile device management or our devices to be able to communicate with one another in our organizations. Some of the key things that we tend to work with are remote working with telecommunications, internet and data. And what I want to try and help with is the aspect of how mobile device management can protect your devices and how we can actually enroll the devices using mobile device management. As you can see in the slide here, we've got a few of the actual gadgets that are out there that we can actually enroll within mobile device management. We've got your mobile devices, your tablets, laptops and desktops, rugged devices, EPOS devices, and custom devices that you may have within your organization. We also have some customer stories, which Rob is actually going to touch on now. One of our customers that we've actually helped deploy mobile device management through to. If Rob, if you could take it away with it.
Yeah, so I know there's a number of people on this webinar. Some of you already have MDM solutions in place, and some of you don't have, and have some experience, and other people don't. So I just wanted to talk about a couple of our larger kind of MDM deployments. This is a company called HATS, who do basically transport, hospital transport for people with a number of drivers out on the road, and the job delivery and a variety of different things. What the MDM solution for them really is that they win contracts. And they need to deploy them very, very quickly, especially in light of what's happened in the world in the last 18 months. So what this has meant is that they have a fleet of apps that they need to download on each device. And whereas historically they weren't able to deploy mobiles quickly because everything needed to be downloaded on an individual basis, what this means is that deploying a fleet of 100 mobile phones to a variety of drivers, which would have taken a week before, can now be done within hours as opposed to within days. Also, it really helped them in terms of their cost control on their bill. MDM, what MDM does around your data usage is it gives you real-time analysis of the data usage. Networks themselves now have things in place that can block devices when they've hit certain data limits. But the issue with the networks themselves is they only report back once the data session is finished. So you still can get situations where people have done huge downloads or something like that, and actually the bill still comes through even though the network thinks there is a data cap, because the network themselves will never disrupt the data session. Maybe we just go back up to the HATS slide. Sorry. The other thing about HATS is it's a much better user experience because actually the end user doesn't have to worry about putting in passwords, and that type of stuff. They have tracking as well, but this is used as almost like a backup on the tracking as well, because MDM becomes a tracking and location-based service. And finally, for them, they used to deploy documents out via email, and they had to incur the cost of Microsoft licenses. Lots of users now don't actually need email, but they only need to receive internal documents. And the MDM solution here allows them to deploy those documents to everybody else in the field without having to incur the cost or the hassle of Microsoft licenses. And finally, they do a lot of stuff with the NHS, where obviously patient data is hugely valuable. And what this does is it allows them to be compliant in terms of tender wins, because everyone knows that, well, not everyone knows, but it's known that once you have an MDM solution, then obviously it's much more secure, and there is much less risk of data being leaked via the mobile device. And they have over 1,000 or so devices that are enrolled into an MDM, and that's increasing on a regular basis. The other story, the other kind of most recent kind of success story we have is Mencap charity that I think a number of people will be familiar with. We do a lot of stuff in the care sector. They have a lot of carers out in the field, and for them, what the MDM does is it reduces the data shock. They know that they can lock down devices to specific data usage or specific apps. So the days of giving users mobile phones and effectively it was like a blank check to some extent, because once you gave somebody a mobile phone, if they downloaded data on a continuous stream, and there was nothing that you could do to control it, but the MDM does that. The second point for them is that a number of their carers actually wanted to bring their own devices, didn't want to carry around 2 phones. And what MDM allows is to bring your own device compatibility. And Louis is going to touch on this a bit later on, but the way devices can be sandboxed, the way that devices can be wiped, but only of the corporate information as opposed to the private information if they were to leave the organization. And again, it's a compliance issue. When you're dealing with the vulnerable and people like that, then patient data is hugely important. And again, this just leads on to this issue of data security and GDPR compliance. The hacking on mobile devices, all that type of stuff has become much bigger news recently. And what this gives Mencap is it gives them the comfort that they know that actually their device, if it's accessed on their data, if it's accessed on the mobile device, is safe and secure. And finally, speed of deployment is obviously a big thing these days. Everyone's looking to reduce their internal IT costs or the amount of time that they need to spend in order to roll out hardware. And where you have bespoke apps that you are looking to deploy onto devices or white or blacklisted websites, MDM just allows you to do that out of the box, so that when we deliver the handset to the end user, actually they are ready to go, and there's no input that's required from the IT department. So overall, for these 2 organizations, it's about speed of deployment, and it's about control, and it's about security. And as the price of MDM has fallen substantially over the years, it becomes a very cost-effective solution. And I'll hand back to Louis, and again, we now have over 4,000 devices out in the field that we help through the mobile device management solution. Some bigger names there that you may have heard of, such as Unison, the trade union. For them, it was all about data security. And as I've said, an awful lot of stuff we do in the care sector, which is around control of devices and data shock, speed of deployment, and security of data.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Rob. So yeah, touching on what Rob has actually explained in terms of mobile device management, some of the things that he touched on is basically how we can actually enroll the devices and how we've prevented some of our customers from getting data shock, and also deploying the devices in a much more easier and streamable way. So I'm going to touch on that and some of the questions that came across to us when we were first initially setting up mobile device management for some of our customers is managing app and content remotely for a large device inventory. How would we go about doing that? Monitoring devices in real time, how long it's taken them to actually deploy devices on a manual basis, and they don't have a mobile device management tool. They want to provision devices over the air and get it started quickly. Are you tired of MDM and complex MDM builds, and how we can overcome that and be able to make it much more easier on the eye, and also administrators can navigate around the actual portal quite quickly, and also maintaining data and device security at all times on the devices itself. So these are some of the things that I'm going to actually cover in terms of giving you a tour on the actual Scale Fusion side of things, which is one of our MDM providers that we actually use to deploy the handsets. Now, we've got 3 modes that we can actually deploy on the MDM. The first one is a corporate-owned device, where the device is fully managed by your organization. When I say fully managed by your organization, you would have full control over the device in terms of if you hand a device to a user, it would already be built with an Apple App Store ID or Google Play Store manager to allow us to push applications through to the device. we'll be able to tailor the actual handset so that you have specific applications and apps that will allow you to navigate on the device, restricting it down to use a minimal amount of data on the device, and a default launcher where you can set your own background on the device itself with your company logo or little fine touches on the devices to make it your own device itself from a corporate status. We've also got the kiosk mode, which kind of ties in with the corporate owned device. With the kiosk mode, it's a bit like when you go into McDonald's or you go into Argos and they've got these big machines or the small little tablets where you can only select a few applications on the device. MDM Scale Fusion allows us to do that with the devices that you would want to deploy. So it's all dependent on how you would want to structure the device and what you want the users to see on the devices, and only allowing them to go on to set applications on the handset itself. So it ties in with the corporate owned devices, but it's much more restricted in terms of kiosk, as I say, being like a McDonald's kiosk screen or an Argos screen. And then the final one is bring your own device. So bring your own device is pretty much having users bring their own handset and use their data SIM or their mobile SIM with a company's applications. But with bring your own device, what we do is we create a sandbox within the actual device, which opens up the applications in the sandbox, which are fully managed as if it was under the corporate owned or a kiosk device. And it will only allow users to have information within that sandbox and view the applications that you as an administrator push out to your users. So here are some of the actual platforms that we currently support. We have Windows devices, which I've touched on, the company owned and the BYOD and the application management. We've got iOS devices, which falls under the same category of the Windows, and we've got Mac OS devices and Android devices. Each one of them have their own specific way of being built in order for us to be able to deploy the actual applications or restrict the application or the device so that it's in a state where you're able to manage the applications on there. And it's a matter of letting us know which avenue you want to go down in terms of the device you choose, and then we can then tailor it to build it for those specific requirements. So the way it works in terms of the service delivery, we actually offer at Your Comms Group in terms of setting up the mobile device management. You will let us know the device that you have or you would like to get from us. We would then upload the IMEIs from the device choices which are listed below. So we've got your Apple Business Manager. So with Apple Business Manager, it's specifically for iOS, where we would actually create an Apple Business Manager account, or you could let us know if you've got an Apple Business Management account. And what we will then do is we can then apply it to the relevant MDM. Same thing applies for Samsung mobile enrollment, so the Knox enrollment. So this is specifically for Samsung devices, where we would get the devices from our suppliers, and then we would upload the actual IMEIs into the Samsung Knox portfolio, which would then communicate with your mobile device management to then enroll the devices straight into your actual portal. And the same thing applies for Android Enterprise. So the Android Enterprise falls under the Alcatel devices, LG devices, any device which is not a Samsung device, which has the Android operating system enabled on there. We would enroll it into the Android Enterprise enrollment system for you with an email address, which allows you to connect up to the Google Managed Store and also connect up to the MDM. And once we've established a connection between the relevant programs into the MDM, we would then go about building an actual policy to the way that you would want it. So if you let us know the information in terms of how you would want your devices to be built, what you want restricted, what apps you want pushing out, we can then go about building that catalog and putting that into place in your specific MDM console or portal. Same thing applies for the Android side of things as well. So there's, as I say, there's a few avenues in terms of how we will go about adding these into the actual MDM portal. And then once that's all been done, you then get your you get to associate your email address to the account, so it will show up in your actual MDM, which I will touch on in terms of showing you an actual video of it a bit later on. And it also integrates with the Google Play account, which I've also mentioned, into your MDM portal. So what I'll say before in terms of building the policy, it's just a matter of letting us know which devices you will want to get built onto the actual platform, and then we will then go about trying to navigate through the portal and creating the right policy for your end users and the user experiences that they get on the actual handset as well. Policies, they're usually based around passcodes, apps required, wallpaper set, location enabled, a kiosk device, bring your own device, and a corporate device. And as I said, what we will then do is we can then administrate it for you, or we can give you the actual MDM portal login details where you would have full visibility of all your devices within the deep dive of the actual portal itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go through some of the actual portal settings that are available on the actual dashboard itself. So we've got an ease of use, which is an intuitive dashboard where I will show you how we can actually go about navigating through the portal itself. We've got the subgroups, where you can actually have groups where you've got a managers group, administrating group, or you've got a users group where you can then drop the devices into the relevant groups. And then we've got the deep dive visibility of what each device is doing on the portal itself, which we will go through, and I'll explain the different parts of the MDM. So in this particular slide here, we've got the deep dive in terms of the what you would have on the portal itself. Got a little video here, which I'm going to explain in terms of what I'm actually doing on the deep dive of the demo of Scale Fusion. So let me just get this played. So in the deep dive, what we've got here is an actual asset management of all your devices, where it shows you all your EMM devices, which I've explained previously, and how we would enroll that into the portal. And unmanaged devices and unlocked devices, it gives you a full scalability of what is actually in the portal itself. The device types, so whether it be a tablet or a mobile phone. The Android version of the devices that you've currently got enrolled, so whether it be Android 10, Android 11, or Android 12, I think is now out. The model of the devices that are in there as well. Just go back to that. So the model of the devices. We've also got available storage on the actual devices, the battery life on the actual devices. So it gets quite granular in terms of where and what you can see on the actual portal itself. So you've got actions which have been taken on the devices as well, where users have taken out the SIM card of the device, and it gives you a notification to say that someone's taken a SIM card out of the device. Your data usage on each device, and you've got your enterprise store and content management in the actual device. But just touching on the actual, just touching on the data usage on the actual device, I just want to be specific and let you know that it pulls down the device usage as opposed to the SIM card usage. So anything that's happening on the actual device, that's where it's pulling the data information from. We've also got a tool which we can actually touch on at a later date, which is our our billing platform, which pulls the information from SIM cards. So you will have the best of both worlds, where you've got information from your actual mobile device and you've got the information from your SIM card pulling down the data usage, and then you can match them both up and see where the actual data is being used on the device itself and also on the SIM card. The next option is going through the location and monitoring services on the device itself. Now, with the location and monitoring services, in this particular demo that I've got here, I've got my device enrolled into the actual portal. When I've clicked on the actual device, what it does give you is it gives you a full scalability of what the actual devices got enrolled on there at the time. So you would be able to see where you've enrolled the actual device, depending on the policy that you've created. The group that it's actually associated to when you've actually built the policy. You've got the version of software that is actually on the device for ScaleFusion. They constantly update that every 3 months, and it's a silent push which goes out to the devices itself. It also gives you information on what Wi-Fi connection you're connected to, your battery level, the model and current version of your actual device. So for my device at the moment, it's on the Android 10. Gives you information on the IMEI, whether it's been enrolled through an EMM managed service, which I touched on earlier on, which is the Google Enterprise for managed applications. And then what this also does is it prevents users from ever leaving the organization. And there's like an FRP associated to the device, which is the factory reset protection, which is set on all Android devices. The MDM actually acts as a top tier, where if a user was to leave, you can actually override that particular email address or password that's been set on the device to then bypass it and then set the device back up as a new device. Or if someone else was to get hold of the device, they wouldn't be able to associate it to their Gmail account or gain access to the handset itself. So this is quite a fundamental part in terms of the EMM managed services. It also goes into the aspect of showing what's on the screen of the handset as well. And you can also locate the device up to, I believe, 7 days when you do a tracking asset management by searching for where the device has been. In this case, I've only got it searching for 24 hours on my particular device, and it gives you a record of that. And you can actually extract that information from the actual MDM console as well. The next option is how to enroll devices and then blacklist and whitelist your browsers, whether it be for an Android device being on the Samsung internet services or on Google Chrome, or alternatively, if you're using an iOS device, Safari, which is one of the actual applications on the iOS program. So me going through the actual portal, showing you where the application management is by going into the Play Store, and then being able to associate a blacklist to Google Chrome. First of all, you would need to search for it on the Play Store. Once you locate it on the Play Store, you'll then need to publish it and then go to the app configuration and then create a configuration within the app, the actual app itself. And in the app itself, you can then allow access to a list of URLs. Now, for the purpose of this demo, I typed in Facebook as one of the applications that we would stop users from using on Chrome. You add that into the actual app configuration, and then what that does is it will allow Chrome to give access to Facebook. But you can also block Facebook by putting in the relevant information into the right fields, which are displayed within the actual portal as well. So it's all a matter of letting us know which applications and which apps or URLs you don't want users to go onto, and then we can then set that into place within the MDM itself. So it does get quite granular in terms of how we would go about doing it. But as I say, these are all settings that we would do on our end if you let us know the information that you want setting up on each one of the devices. And then we can then create groups for them and then put them into the relevant groups. The next option is the app management. Now, with app management, from our experience, what we tend to get is a lot of our customers want applications being pushed down to devices without the users having to interact with the Play Store and download the application onto the device. Now, with the mobile device management tool, you can do this by going into the app management. I'm just going to play the video for you. Now, within the app management, if you go into the Get Started option, you'll then need to create the enterprise email address, which I explained earlier on. We can get that done for you. Once you've got that set up against the portal itself, we can then associate the applications for that email address to work with your mobile device management tool. And this is where you will be able to go to the Play Store and push those applications straight down to the actual devices of your choice. So it gives you the full range of what you would get on a device by going into the Play Store and downloading the applications. And it's just a matter of searching for the app itself. So for example, we've got an app called Call Switch, which is quite a used one on our end. We push that out to our actual devices. You select the actual device, select the actual application itself. Once you've selected the application, you then approve it. Once it's been approved, you then search for the application. And once you've found the application, you would then publish it. And then when you publish it, you then publish it to the relevant group that you've got set up within the actual profile. So in this case, we've got a number of groups that we've got on our policies, and then we would push the application down to the device itself. So it makes your life much more easier being able to send out the apps from this console, as opposed to a user having to go onto it. Because some users may not be tech savvy and be able to jump onto the Play Store and know where to navigate and get the right applications. But with mobile device management, you can ensure that you've selected the right application and you push it down to the relevant devices that you would like to have that application on there. Okay. Now, the key things which separates us from other competitors in terms of the MDM is we would like to vaccinate your devices with MDM. I know I use that term in light humor in terms of the times that we live in at the moment, but being able to vaccinate your device so that you make it go through a stream of settings where you know data services are going to work okay for you. You've got the relevant applications on there, and you can allow your device to roam through your organization's services without any data leakages. So these are some of the key things that we feel that separate us in terms of the costs, avoiding data shock, which Rob explained earlier on with one of our customers, Hatch Group, and also Mencap. The enterprise enrollment management, which is the EMM settings. So with the EMM settings, it's us as YCG building that particular catalog of devices that you would want, whether it be iOS or Android devices, and then inputting it into the relevant program. We do that on our end for you. The increased speed of deployment, it makes your life much more easier when you know you've got this particular system set up in terms of when you order a device from us, we automatically enroll it to the relevant program. When you advise us that you need a device for a particular user, we drop it into the relevant group, and then the administrator doesn't really need to have a touch or hold on to the actual device to then know that the device is in its state of the MDM that's been built for them. So in terms of the increased speed of deployment, I would say it's worked wonders for us at the moment with some of our customers. The other thing is the data security. So we prevent data security from happening on the actual devices with the mobile device management. When we say data security, we block users from being able to go outside of the actual sandbox that have been created on the devices to take screenshots and send it to their own personal email addresses. So that's a key feature on the actual data security side of things. And what I touched on earlier, which was the app deployment as well. So the app deployment, being able to push applications down to the actual devices, knowing that the devices will get that particular application with no issues. As long as the device is connected to a 4G, 3G or Wi-Fi connection, it will push it down to the actual device. The other thing is the tracking and location. You can rest assured that as long as the device is connected to those particular services on the internet, which is the 4G data services or the or Wi-Fi connection, you'll be able to have visibility of where the device was last tracked to. So if a user was to lose a device, you'll be able to locate that particular device by going into the portal and then clicking on the tracking and location services, which I actually explained in the previous slide. And then the mobile assist management. So in terms of mobile assist management, asset management, I should say, is you have full visibility of all the devices that are on the platform itself, and then you'll be able to go through and have an asset of what is available on your actual portfolio or on your console itself, to be able to then say, we can track our actual devices. The other thing is these are some of the partners that are available with ScaleFusion. So ScaleFusion, which is the MDM, are in partner with these particular manufacturers. So any one of these devices will work with the actual device itself to be able to enroll into the mobile device management. So where I explained the Samsung Knox, there's a program for that. LG have also got a program that we can enroll within the Android enterprise side of things. And the list just goes on with all the different providers. It's all dependent on which manufacturer you go for in terms of a device. Our recommended devices are usually always the Samsungs, the LGs or the Alcatel devices, because we know that works pretty well with the MDM. And then iOS, as I say, is an isolated device where we can actually put that into the actual MDM and then enroll that with the Apple Business Manager as well. Integrations that ScaleFusion also work with, you can also enroll your email accounts onto ScaleFusion, where you can have your Active Directory synced up with ScaleFusion, so you can pull down your users from your Active Directory into ScaleFusion, so you can assign the devices against the user. These are the main ones that tend to always come up. So we've got the Office 365 and Active Directory are the main ones that we've worked with and been able to associate Active Directory against ScaleFusion. And we've also got avenues to put in G Suite, Okta, Fresh Service and Jira software as well. So if you ever wanted to go down that route, we could get that information from you, and then we can then build the MDM profile against one of these integrations. And that pretty much concludes my demo in terms of mobile device management. I mean, if you have any questions in regards to this webinar, feel free to let myself or Rob know if you would like to get signed up to a trial or test it against the device. Just drop me a mail, and then I'll be more than able to get that all configured up for you, and then we can then start the process and getting that up and running. Rob?
Thank you very much, Louis. You know, Louis's got a wealth of experience in MDM, has been doing it for a number of years, and has obviously deployed a number of successful projects for us. So I don't know if anyone's got any questions that spring to mind at the moment, but we've got a couple of minutes if anybody. We'll be sending out a video. We'll be recording the webinar, so we'll send a copy of that as well. But if you've got any questions, then please feel free.
Excellent. Thanks, Rob. So yeah, just touching on that, I mean, thank you all again for attending today. And if you have any questions, just feel free to drop myself or Rob an email, and we'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Louis. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.